Hello everybody, today we're back to another episode of From the Parents' Basement, and we're going to continue on yesterday's subject of the murder of George Floyd. So, everyone's outraged still. Even though the cop that snuffed the life out of him was arrested. And you know why it takes this long? Because you need evidence and a clear reason to arrest somebody. Yes, there was a video, but do you know why that video is not enough? Because there was surveillance video and more videos of taken by civilians before the arrest, but there's about 2 minutes of video that's in between when he was first arrested from outside the store and to when he was under the knee of the police officer. And it takes time to get civilians to bring their videos in. It takes time for eyewitnesses to be interrogated. It takes time for all this to happen. And then the detectives, law enforcement, and police have to come together and make a case of a reasonable way to bring this person in and the charges he will face. I think he will be facing murder charges in court. So therefore, that is why it took this long. And second, people and these white Instagram thoughts that want to get that BBC are posting Rip George Floyd on their stories, even though they never cared about black people for a day in their life and only used them for their fucking penises, and then suing them for a rape when they finally get D1, but that's not the point. They say that why, and Snoop Dogg I think posted this too, why are the shooters like Nicholas Cruz and many other school shooters taken out peacefully while these people like George Floyd and many others were pinned to the ground, choked. I can't breathe. I can't breathe has been a popular phrase of the Black Lives Matter movement since like 2015, as LeBron James I think wore it on his shirt during a pregame warm-up. And the difference is, I've watched many of the tapes. A lot of the school shooting videos showed that Nicholas Cruz, he was already on the ground, hands up, no gun in his hand, so therefore there was no need for the police to pin him down. They still pinned him on the ground. They still shoved him into the ground, put his hands behind his back, cuffed him up, and then taken him to his police car. And that's what happened to George Floyd before the video cut out. It was basically the same thing as what happened with Nicholas Cruz. He was cuffed, and then the audio and video cut out, and we didn't see what happened until he was under the foot of a police officer. But in the Nicholas Cruz scenario, it was high profile, so therefore there was video all around it. He was walked by 4 policemen. A scrawny teenage boy, unarmed, was walked to a police car by 4 policemen, and then put in the car, driven, was detained, interrogated, asked questions, blah, blah, blah. And you know the story, he went to court, and now he's in jail. Same thing with another shooter. When the police found him, he was on the ground, hands up, hands behind his back, no gun. They cuffed him up, and they walked him into a police car. And that's what happens most of the time if you don't fight back. But the thing with George Floyd is we don't know what he did, because there's minutes of video missing. It goes from him being put in handcuffs and being searched against the wall, and then it goes dark, and then suddenly he's under the foot of a police officer. We don't know what happened. Could he have kicked an officer? Could the officer have been wrong? Any of this could have happened, and what it looks like is the officer was wrong, and now he's facing murder charges. So, what I don't understand is that why is there still outrage? The guy is arrested, going to be charged for murder, and even if it's just manslaughter or second degree or third degree, he's still going to spend a good few decades or a few years in jail. And yeah, he is a police officer, works in law enforcement, therefore he's going to have a lesser sentence. But no shit. Because think about it. If you're a police officer and you deal with these high, intense situations every single day, not every single day, but all the time, more than usual, a normal person doesn't have to be chasing down drug lords or have to worry about the people that they're dealing with may be armed and dangerous. What if he was using counterfeit money and had gang affiliations, George Floyd? I think he didn't, but what if he did? What if they did have a gun? And that's why many times police fire back and you don't know. They said they're throwing rocks at the police. What if one of those rocks was laced with some substance? What if those rocks was a bomb? What if those rocks could have been anything? If if you're saying, like, say, in the Palestine-Israel case, why are you shooting Palestinian kids? We don't know what those rocks could be. 1 second it's a rock, the second it's a fucking grenade. We don't know what can happen. Like, if you're throwing water bottles at the police, it could be a water bottle, or it could have been a fucking Molotov cocktail, or that water could have been laced with acid, and what if it touches a police officer's skin? So no shit, you're gonna pepper spray him, or at least, like, use tear gas to get them away, because we don't know what any of that could have been. So when these police officers have to deal with these situations where they're dealing with extremely dangerous people, a lot of the times, there are regular people that get a DUI, like your dad had a bad day at work and had a DUI, and he's a normal guy and nothing's wrong with him and he just had one mistake in his life. But there are also times where these people are maybe on like serious drugs like crack cocaine, marijuana, and driving 100 down the freeway. We don't know if that has a gun in the compartment. They don't know anything about it. So therefore, they're dealing with these high intense situations. And if we charged every cop 100 years in life for maybe overreacting to one of these situations, nobody would be a cop. There'd be law and anarchy. There are laws here to protect the cops because, one, they're unionized. Because the left loves their unions. They love their unions. Workers' unions, no Amazon unions. We need Amazon unions, Walmart unions, every union. But when the police officers get a union, it's suddenly a problem. Because these police officers have to deal with drug lords, gangs, armed people, and just dangerous people that may harm them. So therefore, if they do mistake a person and they get 100 years in jail, nobody become a police officer. And we'd have a lack in law enforcement. Like, if we held every U.S. troop responsible for what they did in war in Afghanistan, who the fuck would become a soldier? Then we'd have to manually draft people because we wouldn't have the 2 million soldiers we have today. We wouldn't have the people just voluntarily serving their country, because what if they do one small mistake in a intense situation and now their entire lives are ruined? So this police officer will be charged with murder, and whatever the jury will decide, that is what he will face. Because you're following the U.S. laws. If you think morally that's wrong, that's your morals. That's not the law. Your feelings about a situation come second to deciding a person's life for the rest of his life, or next few years. The law is above your morals. You can think about something, but what's going to happen, it's not what it's going to be. If a child that's 15 does some fucked up shit and he only gets a couple years in a rehabilitation facility, well, the U.S. law says he's a kid, he did this fuck up shit, but he's still a minor, even though he did an adult crime, like a big boy crime, like say murder or trafficking or rape. So George Floyd's killer is going to be charged, and why are we still angry? Why is Minnesota still burning down to the ground? And why are these people saying violence doesn't solve anything? Well, do you see violence solve this murder investigation? No, this video of this police officer is circulated around the world with probably millions of views right now. They were probably investigating this the second this got leaked to the public. So, and it takes them like a day or two. Yeah, that's normal for you to make a conclusive decision about this, because when you're investigating this case, guess what you're also doing? You have to fend off the protesters. Your entire fucking police station's on fire. They set the police station on fire. How are you supposed to properly investigate the conduct of a police officer when your workspace is burning to the ground and people are yelling and throwing shit at you? So it took them 2 days, I think a day or two, to come up with this conclusion. They arrested him and he's being brought in. But these people are still using, the Black Lives Matter people are still using this as an excuse to go out, loot, murder, and pillage. They're like Vikings. They're savages. That's how you say it. They're destroying their animals, because they're destroying their own home. They're savage animals. And this isn't meant in some racist way. There are white people there too that are acting like animals. There are people of all different races just acting like animals and using this man's death. Even his fiance said George would have not wanted this to happen. He would have asked for forgiveness. He would not act in revenge but forgive. You don't get anywhere by burning down a target. What the fuck did AutoZone do to him? Are they taxed and the tax money directly goes to the police? Well, no shit. Everybody's tax money goes to the police. Even the people who say fuck the police when they go to their 9-to-5 job and get taxed, Where do you think that money goes? Some of it goes to the police. So you can't say these people are helping the police. And Target didn't want to take sides during this. It's a protest. You don't want people stampeding your store, so therefore they closed it. And then you burn the place down? That's savage. That's savagery. That's bestiality. Those are animals out there acting like complete utter barbarians and pillaging. Like, this is like the 900s. This is 900 AD, and the Danish are arriving in Winchester. No. We live in a civilized society, and these people are just proving stereotypes and norms of these protesters are just rioting, and it makes their movement less credible. If they just sat there in the streets and protested, I'd have a little more respect for them. But these complete, utter, just brutes are ruining their entire movement. And that's why I don't support the Black Lives Matter movement. And all these people are just saying violence doesn't solve the problem. What if we shoot back? Like, what if we do if you want to fight the state, what if the state imposes martial law? If you want to get violent with the state can triple that outcome to you. Because you know what? The people that are against the Black Lives movement, the grassroots Republicans, most of them, they own a majority of the 400 million guns and 8 trillion bullets. If we turn on the Black Lives Matter movement, you guys do not stand a chance. The government versus the Black Lives Matter movement, I'll take the National Guard every day. If you want to start a war with the right and the people who like the police, we will win that war. If you want to start a war with anyone, the Black Lives Matter movement is in no place to start a war. So I just like to say justice is going to be served, and all of you can go home, and if you want to destroy your own neighborhoods, go for it. But you know why I don't want your neighborhoods to be destroyed, even though you basically deserve it, is because you're going to bitch and complain about income inequality in America after you burn down your own Target. If you have to drive 17 miles to get to the closest grocery store because you burned down the ones within a 15-mile radius, and you're going to say that because we have to drive farther for our stuff and we have to spend more money on gas, we're apparently oppressed. No, you burn that shit to yourself. If you rob your local bar and you have to drive 20 minutes instead of 10 to go there, and you're saying you're being oppressed because you don't have easy access to anything, no, you burn that shit down yourself. So before I go off on another tangent, I'm going to save it for tomorrow. This is another episode of From the Parents' Basement, because apparently everybody thinks I live in my parents' basement. And make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and see you all in the next episode.